Hello and welcome to Market Cross Kitchen. One of our most popular dishes on our evening meals is beef cheeks. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I prepare them. They take about 24 hours to make. First of all, there's quite a bit of prep that goes on in preparing the cheeks themselves. They have to marinate for 12 to 14 hours and then they cook for 5 hours. So it's a long process. So let's get started. Beef cheeks, beautiful pieces of meat. As you can see, they come in various sizes, but that's about an average one. Now the one thing you have to do is you'll see there is a sinew that sits right across the cheek. Now you have to remove this because if not, it will cause the cheek to completely curl up, and this piece will be quite tough. So what you need is, I use a fish filleting knife because I find that's more flexible. So initially just cut these little bits off, and then what I need to do is I need to create, same as when you're taking the skin off a piece of fish, I create a little bit of traction and I turn it over, put my knife right under, get hold of the skin, and then you just waggle it, technical term that, backwards and forwards, and you'll see that that is, just hold it down at a slight angle, and there you go, little tiny bit. I can then take that off by hand. And then you've got a nice clean cheek. Now don't worry about these bits of fat in it. They melt down beautifully, and I'll show you right at the end what they look like, but they become beautiful, gelatinous, and that's where all the flavour is. So I'm now going to prep the other 6 beef cheeks. So that's all the sinew removed from the beef cheeks. You can see there's some beautiful marbling through this, and this again all adds to the flavour. So what I then do is big bowl, pop all the beef cheeks in, or pop 1 or 2 in, and then in here I have some pre-chopped carrots, onions and celery, and as I layer it through, like those, a bit more carrots, and then more beef cheeks. I'm really lucky, I have a really fantastic butcher in Bamburgh. You will find, if you probably won't find beef cheeks in the supermarket, so you will need to order them from your butcher. So I've got my layers of beef cheeks, carrots, onions and celery. The next ingredient is our favourite here, Guinness. Steve gets most upset when I use most of it. So just pour it on. I'm doing 8 beef cheeks, and I found now that actually I need 3 cans of Guinness. They freeze beautifully, so because it takes a while, I would recommend doing at least 4 or 6 at a time, and then they happily. So for 6, I would probably just use 2 cans, but for 8 I definitely need the 3, because you like them to both marinate and cooked completely submerged. So your beef is now marinating in your Guinness. I'm going to cover that and put it in the fridge until tomorrow morning. I'll see you then. Good morning and welcome back to Market Cross Guest House Kitchen. So I'm just going to get the beef out of the fridge. Where it's been marinating for 24 hours. Sorry, no, not 24 hours, 12 hours. And what you need to do now is drain off, take the beef cheeks out, make sure there's no onion, celery, carrots sticking to them. You can see the colour of the flesh has just changed slightly. And then we're going to leave them to drain for approximately 10 minutes. Just the beef cheeks, not the rest. We'll sort those out later. Oh, one more. Okay, so that's that. In the meantime, I've got a heavy based casserole dish, big enough to hold all beef cheeks together. I've got a pan that I need to sear everything off. I've got a sprig of fresh thyme, and I've set my oven to 150. I will need some foil to go over the top of it, but we'll come back to that a little bit further along. So once the beef cheeks have drained off, very, very hot pan, oil in the pan, just a vegetable oil, and then sear them. You need to make sure that you don't overcrowd the pan. They need space to actually sear themselves off, because what you want is colour that's going to add to the flavour. So you need some really good colour on them. That's going to add to the flavour. As you can see, they are shrinking slightly, so as I've got quite a few, I will add another one. So that's the last, sorry, let me turn the pan off. That's the last of the beef cheeks being seared now. You end up with a little bit of a jigsaw to get them all fitted in. So next off, I'm going to probably just a small bit of oil. I've drained the vegetables from the Guinness, and obviously now I also need to sear the vegetables. I'm going to add my bunch of thyme. And like the meat, I need plenty of colour on the veg. So they'll take about 8 minutes to cook down. So while those vegetables are just finished, I'm just going to quickly season the beef here. So plenty of pepper. I tend not to over salt at this stage because I'm going to use a commercial stock, and they can sometimes be heavy on the salt. So what I tend to do is just lightly salt it, and then right at the end, when you are heating it back up, you taste the jus or the stock that it's all been cooked in, and then you can adjust your seasoning. So just a little bit of salt. Okay. So we take the vegetables right over the top. Plenty of lovely colour on them. And then the last part is to cook off the Guinness marinade and the stock. So I'm just going to add them probably one at a time. So that needs to come to the boil, and you need to cook it out for a couple of minutes because you want to boil the alcohol off. So we'll let that boil. At that point we will do exactly the same with the stock, but again that just needs to come to the boil. It doesn't need to boil for 2 minutes. And the reason you need the stock etc. to come to temperature is because if you put it in here and it's not warm, it then takes in the oven a lot of time to come up to temperature, so it actually won't start cooking at that point. So as you can see, I have boiled down the Guinness, put that into the casserole dish, and then I've warmed up some rich beef stock. I tend to use Knorr. It's pretty consistent in regard to its flavour. What I needed to make sure was that the beef cheeks are submerged. Because it's on a long, slow cook, you will get a reduction. So I have kept some stock back, and what I tend to do is every 2 hours I turn the beef cheeks. And if you need to add some more stock at that point, you add some more stock. So I'm now going to put a foil covering on, making sure it's nicely tight. And then very gently into the oven. As I say, every 2 hours I just turn the beef cheeks over and we'll see them on the other side. Welcome back. So the beef cheeks have been in for 5 hours now. I took the foil off for the last hour. It just helps reduce the stock a little bit. As you can see, they are just beautifully tender. Don't want to pull too much off. We talked before we started about the beautiful gelatinous bit in the middle. So I just need to find one that has plenty of it on. Oh no. Here we go. So this one has beautiful little bit of fat running all the way down there. It has so much flavour in it. So we'll take all 8 of those out. Lovely again, beautiful fat. So we'll just leave those. The next part is I need to drain off the stock and then we reduce it down. All of these vegetables have done their bit now. We drain off the jus and then we discard the vegetables. At this stage, what I normally do is I portion everything up into their double portions and put it in the freezer. Now you will see here that the sauce is still quite thin. So when it comes to reheating, you'll find that that really reduces down. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a portion now just so that you can see how much it does actually come down. So I'm reducing the stock down, and you'll see, check the seasoning, you'll see, if Steve looks in the pan here, that it's becoming thicker, and you can basically take that down to however thick and unctuous you want it. That's probably for me about right. I've not plated up a whole dish, but all we do is just spoon that beautiful sauce that it's been cooked in over the top. I would normally serve this with like mashed potatoes and cabbage. Anybody that's eaten with us before and has enjoyed it, this is how it's made. So to remind you, the main things you need to do is remove the sinew from the beef. Sharp knife and just get all of that sinew over the top taken off. You need to make sure that the beef cheeks themselves are seared well, marinated for 24 hours, and then it's 5 hours at 150 oven, covered for the first 4 hours, uncovered for the last hour. Make sure it doesn't dry out. Add plenty of stock to keep it covered, because as you've just seen, you reduce the stock down to what you actually want it to. Discard the vegetables, plate it up, beautiful creamed mashed potato and cabbage. Enjoy.